going into the biggest contractor for generators and manifesting generators within human design, within running your business. I want to talk to you guys about things that contract you as a generator or manifesting generator. If you're a gen or a mani-gen popping on, let me know which you are. Let me know what your profile type is. So gens and mani-gens, there is a lot to be said about using your sacral in business. Hi, Danielle. It's so good to see you. A lot to be said about using your sacral in your business. And I use did you guys see that like feather fly up? That was really weird. I use my human design in my business. I am a mani-gen, a 5-1 Danielle. Hi. I love that you're a 5-1 mani-gen as well. And I have to tell you guys, I have literally grown my business so much as a manifesting generator using my sacral to grow my business. Projector 24, hi, it's so good to see you. So one of the things I really want to say when we talk about growing our businesses through human design and growing our businesses through the sacral, this is not going to matter if you are an emotional authority or if you are a sacral authority. Regardless of if you're an emotional authority or a sacral authority, your sacral is always going to be backing your decisions. Even if you're making big decisions as an emotional authority, your sacral is going to back that, right? And I want to talk about the sacral because one of the biggest things that I see business owners get stuck in, people who are trying to grow their income, is they get stuck in logic. And this is one of those things where gens and mani-gens are very conditioned to follow the path of logic. And we're conditioned to follow the pros and cons list. How many times have you guys seen this? It's like, do the smart thing, grow up, do this, go to college, do this. What are you going to do? Oh, you're good at that. You should do this. Oh, you're good at this. You should do that. You shouldn't follow your passions. You should do this because it makes more sense. A lot of people are going to shut down your sacral energy very early on, and they're going to project every single fear that they have within their own life onto you, because it's kind of, conditioning is kind of one of those things that is generational, right? It's not only societal, but it's generational. And so what happens is the limitations of previous generations will be pushed onto you as a gen or a mani-gen early in your life, where you will be confined to the limitations of logic, and you'll be confined to the limitations of what other people allow themselves to do. And this comes in so deeply when you guys are running businesses, right? And it can start in the beginning of your business where it's like, can I even do this? Can I even run a business? Can I even make income? But what starts to happen is like you are going to execute strategy within your business. And if you're somebody who's in the beginning stages, you have to be very aware of how that conditioning comes in, where you're doing things based on what you think you should do, based on what other people are doing, based on the limitations that others have owned for themselves and have projected onto you. And one of the biggest things that is going to keep you out of your sacral energy, because I want to talk about the sacral center for a second and what its power is. The biggest thing that's going to keep you out of the sacral is tuning into logic. It's tuning into logic from the energy of looking, searching, have to, and should. Logic is something that has a place, right? But when we're in the energy of not being led from the sacral energy first, does not matter if you're an emotional authority, does not matter if you're a sacral authority. If you are not in the energy of being led from your sacral first, then logic is going to become your biggest limiter instead of an expander. Right? And I want to talk about this because what happens when you choose a path based on what you should do, or you continue a path based on what you should do, is your sacral is your energy center for your magnetism, for money, for power, for sexual energy, which is definitely just creative energy. I hope this doesn't get flagged because I said that word, but it's literally your life force creative energy. So what happens when you choose logic, and sometimes people don't even realize they're doing it. It can be very subtle because the mass of society has conditioned us to automatically go to logic every time. So when you start utilizing your sacral and you start tapping into this energy, you may not even see all of the places where you've subscribed to logic. This is where we go into the deconditioning process, where it deepens and it deepens and it deepens and it deepens, right? You're going to have an initial awareness where when you start using your sacral of, oh, I've subscribed to this role for myself, or I've subscribed to this role for myself. But as you expand, guess what you're going to do? You're going to create more rules for yourself on what you have to do in order to maintain the level of success you've created, what you have to do in order to keep your audience happy, what you have to do in order to make money, right? Like, conditioning is always happening. And so if you are leading from logic, what is going to happen is the sacral energy isn't going to be able to come forward. And when we talk about logic, it's this subscription to Newtonian physics. When we talk about Newtonian physics, it's this energy of my input equals an equal output. That's where we are not backed by energy. We're just based on logic, what we've seen from others, what we've seen from ourselves, what we believe is possible, right? I don't want to play impossible. As a mani gen, I have done crazy things once I've actually tuned into my human design. But if I am operating in a paradigm where I am stuck in logic, what's going to happen is it's like putting the blinders on. It's a decision, an energetic decision that you are going to do A plus B equals C. And when you make that energetic decision, guess what? You're confined to A plus B equals C. And also your input equals an equal output because you're only playing in the 3D energy. And the 3D energy, the 3D world is limited to the limiters of space and time, which means it takes a long time and it takes a lot of energy. Right? Yes, agreed. In the beginning, when I was conditioned, things worked until it didn't because my sacral was no longer lit up by the conditioning. Totally. And that's the thing. There's new layers and new levels to this conditioning. And so if you are operating in the paradigm of my input equals an equal output, you're going to be exhausted and your sacral is not going to be on board. If your sacral is not on board, you're not going to be backed by energy. This is what people talk about when they talk about being backed by energy, is they're talking about this frequency of my input equals a greater output. That's where we start to play in quantum physics. That's where we're backed by energy. Guess what? Your sacral is the key to that. Your sacral is the key to having an input equal a greater output. Do you see how that equals less energy and effort from you, where you're not trying, forcing, hustling, and pushing, and you're actually going to be able to grow your business. You're actually going to be able to grow your income because you are not limited by logic. You haven't put up the blinders of A plus B equals C. Now, logic plays a place in my business, right? Like when I went from my first year in business being 130K to my next year in business being 540,000, last year taking a 6-month break from my business, going into a spiritual awakening and still making 250,000, like that isn't logical growth. And I want you guys to know that when I first, and I'm going to tell you how this played out in my life because it's really important you understand the different layers of conditioning and how they can come up. When I first learned about human design, I thought it was so cool. And I'm a 5-1. I love learning the facts. I love learning all of the details, and I didn't embody it. So what happened is I continued to lead from logic. And during that time, I was working 16-hour days. Everything was so hard. Nothing was shifting. Nothing was changing. And I was like, what the hell? I've learned about this human design thing. I know that I'm a 5-1 manifesting generator, sacral authority. Why are things not expanding for me? Why am I working 16 hours a day? Why am I working with clients who are unaligned? This feels hard. This feels difficult. I am working, and I saw this. I saw myself working harder for a 5K month than I saw people working for 100K months, because at that point in time, I was actually a virtual assistant who was working behind the scenes in some big coaches' businesses. And I was like, something is wrong here. My input is equaling an equal output. And when we think about being limited to the 3D and only leading from logic, you're going to be capped by your ability to work hard every single time. And guess what? That's going to shrink your sacral energy. And so what happened for me is I started understanding like intellectualization of human design is way different than embodiment. And so what I actually had to start doing is I had to start training myself to listen to my sacral and actually follow the moves that my sacral wanted and actually learn how to be self-sourcing in my light up of my sacral. A lot of people don't guess it, and I'm going to go back and talk about that in a second, but a lot of people do not get that your sacral is way beyond just your ability to know what's right for you, just on your ability to know what your yeses and your nos are. Your sacral is your life force. Your sacral is your magnetism. Your sacral is your creativity. And so you don't just want to be using your sacral for yeses and nos, right? You want to be using it in all of these spaces. But I started tuning in and listening to my sacral, and my sacral told me, let go of the misaligned clients, change your working hours, set standards and boundaries. And it was one of those things where my mind was freaking out. And my mind was like, oh my gosh, but this, oh my gosh, but that, oh my gosh, I can't actually do it this way. What if I'm not the person? Like, one of the things that you will notice is generators and manifesting generators, the thing that's going to take you out every time is your negative what ifs. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm not meant for this? What if this is a dumb decision? What if things don't work out for me? What if I'm not okay? What if they judge me? What ifs are going to take you out of your sacral energy every single time. And so I started embodying my sacral energy. And what happened from this was this really just like, I can't even tell you, like the results that I just spoke about, the 130K, like before that, I was in a corporate job working. And it's interesting because I started using my sacral before I even realized it, because I was in this corporate job in marketing. I understand marketing very, very well. But in my corporate job, I was like, okay. And this was when I was 25 years old. I was looking at it and I was like, there is no way in hell, because I had been in that corporate job for a year and a half. And I was like, I'm supposed to do this till I'm 65. I'm supposed to be okay with this path. I'm supposed to be okay with this because everybody tells me that this is an amazing job. I'm supposed to be okay with my 2K a month income, which I could barely afford the things that I needed. My sacral said no. Right? And so what I started doing is I started learning to embody my human design. And one of the things I want to tell you guys now at this point where I own a multiple six-figure business, like I can do very little in my business and still make multiple six figures, but I love showing up and I love being in the business. One of the things that I have learned is that the sacral, it is a generative and a degenerative motor. What this means is that when you subscribe to logic, and I see this so often with gens and mani gens in business, is they subscribe to logic to try to get into the energy of enjoyment, the energy of being tapped into their sacral, the energy of things flowing someday. How many of you guys have ever experienced that energy where things are popping off, your business is exploding, you're getting DMs, people are paying, you're in your magnetism, you know what to say within your business, you feel this magnetic life force pouring through you? That is when you are in a generative state. That is when your sacral is in this energy of continually creating more energy, right? Vanessa's experienced this totally. And so when you're in that state, guess what's going to happen? The things that you do, and there's this weird connotation with action and doing where we think it's going to drain us, but it does when you're doing it for someone else. It does when you're following the path of what a coach or what a parent or what society has told you to do. But when you are following the things that are right for you, the things that are meant for you, your action actually fills you up. Your action actually gives you more energy, right? And one of the things I want to say is a lot of gens and mani gens, they don't know what to do when this energy ebbs and flows. If you guys have heard about generator lulls, this is something that gens and many gens experience where there is a lull in your energy where it can feel like a disconnection from the sacral. And a lot of many gens make the mistake of buying into the lull so deeply that their income dips, that their confidence in self dips, that their inspiration dips while they're going through a lull. And then your lulls will actually result in lulls in your 3D reality, which is something that is really important for me, that I learned how to actually not have my lulls impact my income, not have my lulls impact the clients coming in, not have my lulls impact my ability to show up in my business, right? I feel this energy in my body, but I don't see changes in the outside. Lena, this is one of those things where it's like and this is why it's so important for me to combine energetics with human design, because when I'm in that energy and I'm not anchored into energetics where I understand that everything inevitably starts as a frequency and drops into the 3D, then I'm going to create a story of, oh, it hasn't happened yet. And as long as I create the story of, oh, it hasn't happened yet, then I'm bought into separation. I'm bought into it's going to happen someday, or it might not happen someday. The power of the sacral exists here and now. And so the reason why I combine it with energetics is because I want to be in that energy, but I also want to be entertaining paradigms that actually equal my sacral turning into me making money, where I actually entertain paradigms of it's all working and it's all adding up and it gets to drop in at any moment, right? I'm not there now, which is so frustrating. Yep, 100%. And so oftentimes what we will do, and I see so many gens and many gens make this mistake, is when they're going through a lull, when they're in a degenerative state within their sacral, they do this thing where they try to figure out what's going on. What does that automatically do? That automatically puts them back in logic, right? And so this is something I used to do, right? I used to have the lulls, the generator lulls, where I would freak out and I'd go, where is my inspiration? And I would watch my income dip and I would watch these things go down and I would watch people resonating with my content less and I would try to create and I'd try to get out of the lull. What a lot of people do when a generator lull happens is they try to override it strategically or just wait it out. This is where you go into the energy of how do I fix this? How do I get out of this, right? And there is so much power in the lull. And this is something I talk about in for generators and manifesting generators. That's my signature program for gens and mani gens to anchor into the sacral, anchor into their magnetism, and learn how to use the sacral to actually grow their businesses. But when you're in this space of going into how do I fix this, you're not in the energy and the attunement of here and now. Your sacral cannot respond for a future moment, and your sacral cannot respond for a past moment. It can only be in response here and now. And so what happens is when you're trying to fix it, when you're trying to figure it out, what do you automatically subscribe yourself to? The paradigm of logic. And what does the paradigm of logic say? My input equals an equal output. And then what happens when you buy into this paradigm of my input equals an equal output and you're trying harder and you're trying harder and trying harder? You create a feedback loop that in order to see results within your business, you have to try harder and harder and harder and do more and do more and do more. I do things in my business, but it's not from that paradigm. You have to be really aware when you're going through a degenerative state, waiting for someday or trying to fix the energy, trying to fix the lull. Does that make sense? And so when your sacral is in a degenerative space, your job is to actually learn how to activate the sacral, how to actually not just push through, because a lot of gens and mani gens will do that. And then they'll notice less and less magnetism. They'll notice less and less expansion. And also waiting for someday, it doesn't work. How many of you guys have waited for someday and then all of a sudden your energy comes back, not because you waited for someday, but because you learned how to activate your sacral? That's the most important piece. And one of the things that will happen when you are in a degenerative state within the sacral is you will go into this energy and this frequency of is subscribing to logic, subscribing to limitation, and then that continues to contract the sacral when you let go of those things, when you let go of the rules, the preconceived notions, the shoulds, and the have-tos. That's when you actually get into the energy of what you need and what you desire in terms of getting back into the sacral energy, right? This is where I see so many gens and mani gens. Yeah, I've been trying to fix. Yes, totally. The push through energy is not fun. Yes, exactly. And this is where I see so many gens and mani gens, no matter what point they are in their business, recreate manifesting generator 2-4. I love it. Recreate this paradigm of I have to try hard in order to see results. I have to be excited in order to see results, because what they do is they create new conditioning around where they're at within their business. I have to apply this strategy that my coach is doing, or I have to do this thing that somebody else on the internet is doing in order to see results, when we forget that the sacral being on is the thing that makes the strategy work. That's what I really want to say here. Right? It's like your energetic strategy. And if you are trying to use business strategy, to use action, to use doing as a way to bypass being in tune with the sacral, leading from the sacral, then what's going to happen is you are going to constantly be in this paradigm of being led by the conditioning of others, led by the conditioning of where you've bought into logic, led by the conditioning of she does it this way, which means I need to do it this way, right? Yeah, so to come out of the lull is to stay present with the sacral now. Yep, exactly. Yep. And how do you turn it on? This is something I talk about in for Gens and Manny Gens. But that being said, when you buy into this paradigm of logic, you are going to be in a degenerative state. It's an order, right? And if you mix up the order and you try to get the result, you try to create the income, you try to bring in the clients without being in a generative state within your sacral first, you are going to continue to notice that you are creating a correlation between my effort equals the result. My effort does help me get results, but guess what? I play with quantum physics because my effort is always backed by energy. That energy is my sacral life force. And when I know how to tune into my sacral life force, then every single thing that I do is actually going to be amplified. When I approach business strategy, doing, and action from a place of should, have to, force, or pressure, I am automatically in a degenerative state. I just want you guys to start to notice this. Start to notice, ooh, I've got the paradigm wrong. Oop, I'm trying to lead without the sacral coming first. When you start to notice this, you are going to start to notice your ability to tune out of logic expand massively. And I remember when I tapped into this, when I first tapped into this frequency and learned how to sustain it and learned how to be in it, what happened after that point did not make sense. I was making, I had become a business coach and I had become a human design coach and I was really mastered in the energetics. But what I was seeing during that point in time is I was selling programs and I was doing the things and I was making like 5 to 7K a month. Sometimes I'd go up and I'd hit like a 13K month and then I'd go back down. When I started utilizing this energy, one of the things I noticed is, first off, I knew what to do within my business. I knew what to execute. I knew the strategies I needed to do. I knew the coach I needed to hire. I knew, I was led to those things. That's one of the things. Your sacral will lead you on the path of most alignment to your desires because your desires are called through you because they're meant for you and you can use your authority. You can use your sacral. Whether you're an emotional authority or not, you can use your sacral to actually guide you towards the path of least resistance on those things. So what happened after that point is I had a 20K month. Now, that 20K month came with a lot of ease. And what did I automatically do? I automatically reconditioned myself in that moment. And I went, okay, that 20K month happened with ease, but how do I make it happen again? As soon as I asked that question, what did I do? I tuned out of the power of where my sacral could respond here and now. And I went into what happened in the past, which my sacral can't make decisions for the past. It can make decisions here and now. It can be activated in the now moment. And what else did I do? I went into logic and fear of the future. I went into, what if I can't do this again? What if this was a one-off fluke? What if I'm going to have to work really hard to maintain these results? What if I'm the person who this isn't even for and I fail at my business and go back to my 9-to-5? Those were the paradigms energetically that I was entertaining. Yeah, how do I make 20K again? Right? And so what I did is I had to decondition. I had to tap out of those negative what ifs. And what happened after that point? Oh, we froze for just a second. When I learned how to utilize my sacral and not go into the limitations of logic and go into how do I do this again? Instead of tapped into the sacral, I'm doing this. Tapped into the sacral, I believe this is possible. Tapped into the sacral, if I've done it once, I can do it again. Tapped into the sacral, my desires are called through me because they are meant for me, right? So I practiced and I did that. And all of a sudden, what happened after this point in time? I had a 30K month I had a 50K month. I had a 70K month. I had a 70K month. I had a 50K month. I had a 100K month. Cash. Many of these were 100K sales months. But those numbers I just told you were cash. It made zero logical sense. There was no logical, how do I get to this? But guess what? I did execute logical things within my business. But guess what? My sacral led me. My sacral was activated. I wasn't afraid of, oh my gosh, can I do it again or can I not do it again? Because I consciously chose to stay out of the negative conditioning of gens and mani-gens that put me into the paradigm of logic and tapped me out of my sacral. There was no how. There was no, oh my gosh, I have to manifest and I have to do this and I have to do this. Like, I think a lot of gens and mani-gens, we see what other people are doing in terms of getting in alignment, and we forget that we can just get into alignment through our sacrals, right? And so I wasn't like doing, okay, I'm going to do this 20-step manifestation process and try to figure this out. Was I journaling? Yes. But I teach you guys about this in if you want to join. But I was tuning into journaling exercises that would actually activate my sacral. I love that. Yes. And so what happened is I didn't just randomly fall into these things. During that point in time while I was scaling, I was led to logical things. I was led to things to do. I was actually led to creating the masculine structure around my business to not only create that, but to have that be something where after that, I was tapping into 50K months. I was tapping into 70K months. That 100K month, I haven't done it again, but it's coming, right? And I've had sales months that have been that high since then. And so what I want to say is that defied every rule and every law of what it says that you can do within the coaching industry, of what it says you can do within what you create, defies the rules of time and space. And that is what you do when you are activated in your sacral. When you are activated in your sacral, then all of a sudden it's just this energy of how can I use my sacral to become an energetic match for the reality that I am desiring to create. That's all it is. Because I don't want to be the person whose input equals an equal output. I don't want to subscribe to Newtonian physics. And many of us, regardless of if we're aware of it or not, or if we've created new conditioning, because at every new level, you will create new conditioning on basis of what you believe you need to do, have to be in order for it to work, which tunes you out of the present moment where the sacral can actually be and respond and move you. And so during that period of time, I don't think it's possible to have a 50K month or a 100K month or a 70K month or even a 20K month if you are fully subscribed to Newtonian physics, if you are fully subscribed to logic, if you are fully in the energy of A plus B equals C. It's really not possible, because I remember, and this is something that frustrated me, I remember when I was making 2K per month in my business and I saw myself working harder than people who were making 50K months. And I was like, if what I do is the answer to this, then that makes no sense. These people would be working their ever living butts off. They would be working 24/7 if it was about only action. And so I was pissed off and I was confused and I was like, what do they have that I don't? Maybe it's that they're prettier, or maybe it's, I created so many rules. Maybe it's because they're older. Maybe it's because they have this certification or that certification. I bought into the conditioning. But what I started to see is that if you are not backed by energy, you are going to automatically put yourself into the frequency of, I have to try really hard in order to see incredible results. And then what do you tune yourself out of? You tune yourself out of the magic. You tune yourself out of illogical results. As gens and mani-gens, guess what? Even logical results can contract us because we're not feeling the light up. We have to cultivate that first, but when reality starts popping off because of our cultivation of being within the sacral and being sacral led and making the business moves that are aligned for us and actually letting maybe sometimes logical moves follow the sacral, because there were logical moves that I made when I was fully tapped into my sacral. There are logical moves I make now, even fully tapped into my sacral. But many times, those moves are illogical. They're based on something that I've never seen other people do, or something that I saw somebody do and I was like, ooh, I want to tweak it and I want to do it this way. It's based on listening to an answer that I received from my mentor and going, nope, that's not for me. Or going, yep, I'm going to use this piece. Seeing somebody on the internet succeeding in a different way than me. Somebody subscribing to, I saw a post today where somebody was like, in order to succeed now in this industry, you have to create 5 to 7 pieces of content every day. And I was like, no, that's not for me. But we have to be aware of where new conditioning comes in at the next level, because you really want to be tuned into the paradigm. You really want to be tuned into the paradigm of my input equals a greater output. That's what the sacral gives you the capacity to do. Your sacral gives you the capacity to execute business strategy, to be smart about your marketing and your messaging and all of the things that you're doing in your business, but not be limited by the constraints of your effort or limited by the constraints of logic. Many people, even within their growth, even if they have a successful business, what they condition themselves to believe and do is that when they see a certain result, and then they see a certain result again, and then they see a certain result again, is they see the trajectory of those results and then automatically expect just those results. And so what does that do? That taps them out of the magic. That taps them into the paradigm of logic. Like, it can be so sneaky and it comes up at every single level. Is your sacral tapped into the possibility of things exploding? Is your sacral tapped into, oh, I have to post this many times in order to be successful? Or is your sacral tapped into the energy of, I love sharing content, I love posting, and everything works for me and everything works at an amplified level, and this could be the thing that goes viral? Just an example, but you really get to start to tune into, where are you limiting yourself based on logic? Do you guys feel that? Because as soon as I learned how to stop following the conditioning of society, how to see the conditioning that I created within myself with every success and with things that looked like they weren't working, when I learned how to get my sacral out of a degenerative state and into a generative state so things could actually compound, so I could actually play within the realms of quantum physics instead of Newtonian physics where I was limited, that's where things exploded. One of the things I want to say is you cannot make yourself get out of a degenerative state. Like, one of the things, and I want to explain this really quickly. When you are in a degenerative state within the sacral, if you are trying to force yourself to get out of a degenerative state, if you are being hard on yourself and trying to tune into doing more, taking more action, just trying to create the income, trying to create the clients so you have something to respond to that is a yes within your external reality, that is going to keep you in a perpetual state of being in a degenerative state within the sacral. And so what this is going to equal is more subscription to logic, more subscription to effort, and it's going to equal you being in this space of waiting for things to change. Right? One of the things I do not believe is like, wait to respond does not mean forcing, pushing, hustling, or just shutting down and doing the thing, or trying to get this strategy to work well enough from this energy. That's not waiting to respond. Right? Yeah, totally. Play within resonance and everything will unfold in unlimited ways. But what do? We go back to our conditioning. And when we have a moment of a lull, or we have a moment of discomfort, or we have a moment where we could buy into the paradigm of things aren't working, or it hasn't landed yet, or maybe my human design doesn't work, or maybe my sacral's stuck in this state and I'm just going to have to force some pressure, we don't remember how quickly things can change when we are aligned. We don't realize how quickly we can exit the paradigm of my effort equals an equal output when we are aligned, because you can switch this paradigm like that, where you go from Newtonian physics into quantum physics, where your input equals a greater output. Things can shift so quickly for gens and many gens. So I want to tell you guys about for Gens and Mani Gens. It's my signature program for Gens and Mani Gens to tap into the power of the sacral and let that lead them in their businesses. This is fully your energetic strategy. We are not teaching business strategy here. This is the space where you come in and you master the energy of being in a generative state, being in a magnetic state, being in a powerful state within your sacral, so all other things are actually fueled by the amplification of your generative sacral energy. What we are going to be going into in is we're going to be going into, and this is something that I'm very excited about, how to utilize your lulls for power. So during your generator and manifesting generator lulls, you do not see your income drop. You do not see your clients drop. You do not experience a lull within your 3D reality. We are also going to be going into how to be in the highest level of magnetism, how to actually train yourself to be in a constant state of being in tune with your sacral. Some people will come into this space. We've already got 29 Gens and Mani Gens in this space. Some people will come into this space and not even know how their sacral sounds. We are going to help you. Some people will come into this space and be like, yes, I know how my sacral sounds. I know how my sacral feels. You're going to amplify that. And what we're really going to be doing is tapping you into your deepest level of magnetism and deconditioning all of the things that are keeping you stuck in a degenerative state and a logical state. So you have to try hard and work hard for your business to work. If you are a Mani Gen or a generator experiencing this paradigm of my effort equals an equal output, you have to get out of that paradigm if you actually want to see your business expand. The answer is not more business strategy, because business strategy from a place of not tuning into the sacral first is actually going to be from a fix-it, searching energy. And I see a lot of Gens and Mani Gens, when things aren't working, their immediate conditioning based on society, based on generational conditioning, is to go into fix-it mode instead of tuning in and understanding that things work faster from the paradigm of being led by your sacral. This is your energetic strategy, and everything that we are going into in this program is actually going to help you step into a new level within your business, because you're going to be moving from a generative state. And it's going to be really powerful, because these are going to be modules you get lifetime access to. There's going to be 2 Q&As, but these modules are going to be something that you are going to want to integrate and listen to in the background of your life, in the background of your being, to tap into the present moment even deeper, to tap into your sacral even deeper, to activate your generative energy even deeper, to get out of degeneration and to get out of the paradigms of logic that you are conditioning yourself into, that you are currently buying into, and the logic that you're going to condition yourself into as you inevitably succeed and start to see results pop off within your life. We're going to get you out of the conditioning of playing into the negative what ifs. We're going to get you out of the conditioning of trying to shift your lull so you can actually shift your lull, because trying to shift a lull and shifting a lull are 2 completely different energies. So your sacral energy can back you in creating the money, calling in the clients through your deepest magnetism, and being fully aligned as a generator or a manifesting generator. We have had people go through this program and step into their first 30K months, their first 20K months, their first 100K months. Like, it has been such a powerful way. We've had people quit their jobs. We've had people set deep boundaries. We've had people step out of misaligned relationships into aligned relationships. We've had people heal burnout. The results are all over the board, depending on what you are wanting to tap into. One of the things that you have to realize is that your desires are called through you because they are meant for you. You would not have a resonance with a desire to heal burnout, or tap into this amount of money per month, or tap into calling these aligned clients, or growing your business to this point, or leaving your 9 to 5 without that being something that was energetically available for you. Right? And that's what we're going into. That's why the results are everywhere, because we've had so many Gens and Mani Gens. People who are making a lot of money come into and make even more. People who are brand new to their business come into and step into making more. If you lead from the place of strategy without your sacral, you are missing a huge piece of what is going to put you in the paradigm of my input equals a greater output. One aligned move is more powerful than thousands of moves that are from a place of have to, should, I need to, hustle, force, and pressure. Hustle, force, and pressure. Doing more is not going to shift things until you are aligned in your energetic being. Vanessa, yes, I love that. I'm in. Oh, I'm so excited. It's not going to shift you. But when you are in tune with these pieces, when you are in tune with your sacral being generative, then what happens is all things you execute in terms of strategy, business strategy, all things you do within your life, guess what? They're backed by energy. Pamela, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have you. They're backed by energy. The sacral truly is that powerful. And I know you guys can feel it as I'm talking because my sacral is buzzing. You know, when we talk about the aura, you guys may be far away from me, but our auras are engaged right now, right? There's a magnetism that occurs when your sacral is on. And many of you here may feel your sacral is buzzing because you're feeling the power of what it means to be in that generative energy, to tap into unlimited possibility. Logic shuts me down personally. I haven't worked with many gens and many gens, like in my one-to-one coaching, in my masterminds, and where they're turned on by logical results. I'm like, that's lame. That's boring, right? What is logical is that I should be happy with my old 7 to 5 making $2,000 a month, but that wasn't logical. Logical is that I should create a 10K month and I should probably create 10K months for the rest of my business and be happy with that. Logical is, oh, I should see a 10K month and an 11K month and a 12K month. Like, I am so bored and shut down by logic. I am so bored and shut down by not playing in magic. And if I am executing strategy from the place of not being in tune with magic, like, what's the point, right? Strategy has a place, but it comes secondary to your sacral turn on. And when your sacral is turned on, strategy is always amplified. So that being said, come play. It's going to be freaking incredible. This is going to be such a powerful round, and you guys can get prepared because it is going to be we've got 6 modules plus an introductory call. We're going to have sacral activations for you to activate your sacral so you can tune into those for a lifetime, which is lifetime access, which is so powerful. And then we also have the 2 Q&As. This is going to be so powerful. I'm so excited to see everybody who joins. I cannot wait to get started. My sacral is so activated around and the work that it's done. You know, this is a brand new live round. But one of the things I want to say in previous rounds, and the reason why this round is brand new is because I've learned so much about navigating lulls. I've learned so much about deconditioning and the layers of conditioning. But one of the fun things that I said, because was actually the first program that I ever launched when I started my human design business. And I remember being just like this little thing sitting there teaching people about here's what's possible from the sacral. And I think at that point I had barely started tapping into 10K months, and I was talking to them and I was like, here's what's possible. And someday I know I'm going to have a 100K month, and I know I'm going to have a multiple 6-figure business. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, somebody messaged me who was re-listening to the modules, and they were like, it's almost more powerful to see what you believed in before you did it than what you did. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet, you know, because I thought about that. And I was like, the level of being in tune that I have felt since that moment when I said that, and I was just like, it's not here, but I believe it. And I declared it, but I declared it with my sacral. And then the unfolding of that, it was really powerful. And it was such a moment for me when she sent me that message. And she was like, it was really powerful to see that you hadn't created that yet and watch you create it. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Stay out of the energy of trying to get out of your lull, trying to fix things with logic. Tune back into the sacral. Remember the power of the sacral. And if you're ready to do this, come play an And I cannot wait to see you guys all over the internet. I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.